Okay guys, it's May the 10th, just a little past lunchtime today. We're back on the 5.5 project, still doing a little bit of wiring. I've got quite a bit of the stuff removed so I can see in the dash, and I've actually started making some terminations on the wires. Let's take a look. So I've started wiring up the ignition system here, and this is by no means a final. I've still got to dress those wires and do some taping. I've still got to fix the wiper motor power wire there. Going to get rid of that old crimp splice and solder a connection onto it. That wire over there for the AC, still got to finish that. And I was worried that there wasn't a fuse on that, but I did find a terminal block underneath the dash that has a fuse built into it. So that's good on that. Let's go inside. So inside the car, I've actually started removing just a little bit of the AC ducts so that I can better access the wiring. I've still got the radio area to clean up. I still got to do something with those grounds. And this car, I think I'd mentioned, it has a lot of relays in it and just a lot of wiring. I've been trying to figure out all these other wires, and come to find out it has an alarm system on it. It has a X caliper alarm system on it, so I've been trying to figure all that out, and that's kind of complicating things. Today, the goal is to finish documenting the wiring where it's connected at on the fuse block there. So we'll get all that taken loose and get it labeled. And then I've also decided, since it has all these relays, you can't tell it from looking at it from this angle, but there's a lot of power wires in there that's just scotched together with crimp connectors. And I'm actually going to run an accessory fuse panel right underneath that one, and I'm going to tie these relays in on that. I think it'll be a whole lot better setup, and I think it'll be more reliable. They don't really make that alarm system, that particular model, anymore, but I was able to get online and I couldn't find the installation instructions, and I emailed the company and they sent me a link to it. My wife was able to get it printed for me, and she cut it up and made it into a booklet with all the pages in order, so thank you to her. It also has an aftermarket AC unit, and I was able to get online and find the paperwork to that. So we're going to be looking at all that, double checking it over. We've had one little mishap. There's all this wiring, somebody's wire tied it to the cables that work the AC unit. And I was double checking those cables to make sure they was moving freely. And while in the process of doing that, one of the levers broke. I'll show you that. We've got two levers there, and that one on the right side is the one that broke. Luckily they do make them. I've ordered a set, got to put that on, so we're going to be go ahead and finish taking that all the rest of the way out. And I was able to find a YouTube video that shows the exact process on how to do it, so thank goodness for that. So that's just something else I've got to do. And then, of course, still got to finish the column. I had got the steering wheel removed, and I was able to see exactly what it looks like there with the turn signal switches and everything. So I've got to fix that. That's probably going to be one of the last things I do. So got myself into a little bit more than what I anticipated with this alarm system. And, of course, this radio wiring is pretty rough, so it's got to be dealt with while we're here. So that's what I'm going to be concentrating on today, is going ahead and documenting the rest of the fuse panel, get it out of there. I'm going to also be documenting this radio, figure out where the wires are going to get it labeled, get it ready to basically rewire it. And then we'll see how much time that goes, and we'll get into that alarm. And I hope to be wrapping this thing up in a few days. So like I said, it's gotten into to be a little bit more than I anticipated, but that's usually the way these projects go. But when I get a little bit more done, I'll bring you back and show you the progress. Okay guys, still May the 10th. It's getting late at night here. It's right at 10:15. Let me show you the progress. You guys remember I had a lever brake on the heater controller. Well, wind up taking that heater controller out of the car. They make all this in a kit, and I've ordered these arms and ordered this these bushings and springs. Got our levers in for the heater control, and we're gonna get to working on that, see if we can't get this housing fixed. I had showed you guys where I broke that lever. Right there's that bushing that we've got to replace. Here's our replacements. A couple different springs and pins and washers. There's the pin we got to drive out. And there's the retainer. Wasn't too bad of a job, but I did run into a few little snags along the way. If you look here, there is no nylon bushing in here like there previously was. And if you'll notice the length of, I guess we'll call that the shoulder of these rods here compared to the original, you can see it's about half. And so there was really no way to put the spring back on it with the nylon bushing like it was originally. So that's what I opted to do, and seem like they work fine now. Just a little tip if anybody has to do this, something that I found out. You have to get all that together and then get it slid down into the housing, and then basically the pin drives in from one side to this other side, and then you put your retainer on it. Well, it's hard to get all that stuff lined up and down in there, and what I actually did, this is a keyway from a motor shaft, and you can see right there it's about the perfect length. So I managed to get everything fit outside the housing. I was able to pinch these together, drop it into the housing, and then once I did that, it's just a matter of lining up the holes, taking the new pin, pushing it all the way through as it comes through the housing, and then of course driving the keyway out and then installing the retainer. So that's just a little tip, and it really speeds up the process. I do have this old bezel off of it. You can see it's pretty rough, so we'll go ahead and get online and see about getting one of those in here. The only thing I actually did out here in the engine bay today, I actually ran the power wire for the wiper motor, and I've got it down at the fuse box now on the inside of the car. I've got all this radio stuff out, and you can just see what a knotted up mess that is. But it ain't much to it. You got a 12 volt switch to 12 volt constant, a ground, and some speaker wires. That's all we got to worry about. We'll dress that up. Here's where we spent most of our time at today on the 5.5 is underneath the dash. That alarm system, right there it is. It's an X caliper AL-1000SH. And what I've done, I've actually velcroed it to the vintage air system box it was actually just laying in there loose, and basically studied the diagrams on it, the schematics, and went ahead and labeled each of the wires. And I wound up just basically removing it all because everything was just so knotted up. I mean, it was just a big ball of wires in a knot. And if you start out with that, that's what you're going to wind up with when you get done. And these are all the wires that go to the alarm for the door pops and some of the other stuff this thing's got on it. It's got several relays back here. That's another thing that I did, is I actually relocated the relays. They were originally down here hanging underneath the dash on the carpet. I got them up and put them back there on some Velcro and got them out of the way. I reworked the clock harness, and that's all right here. It was just all wire nutted together, and everything that I'm doing I'm using solder and heat shrink with. So I've got all that done. I actually tested the clock and it does work. My next order of business today was installing the new fuse panel. This is original equipment style fuse panel. So I got it all located and basically mounted to the firewall. I've actually started running some wires back here, and if you remember from the previous video, all that mess was just laying over these two bars in this spring area here, and I'm actually going to route it back there, and it'll be all taped and wire tied together with the guard over it right there through the firewall where a grommet will be. So it'll be nice and tucked up back here out of the way like it's supposed to be. And then of course we've still got our main harness here. These are for our alarms for the door. And then the fan. Went ahead and got a switch mounted for that. That's the way he said he wanted it done. This here is actually the vintage air harness. Of course the relays are back there for it. And whoever put that in did a good job. I mean, I haven't had to redo anything with that. It's just been this radio and the alarm. And I'm actually started tying up some stuff under here. I've still got to make this. This will be where I'll pick up on it tomorrow, is on these gauges. I'll start tidying all this up on the gauges and get it right. And I hope to pull the rest of the speaker wires, finish the radio, tidy it up, and then as far as the engine bay goes, there is the tack wire, electric choke, and the water temperature, and I've got to tape up the wire coming in from the electric fan. So it don't really look like a lot of progress today, but this is pretty much how you do it. You just got to get everything situated, know what you got, and then you can start planning your routes. Try to plan your route, and hopefully when you get done you've got it all nice and straight, and you don't have just a big knot. You don't have a lot of wiring that's in a granny knot. So guys, that's going to do it for the 5.5 tonight. Probably be back out here first thing in the morning. Like I said, I'm going to start tidying up the gauge area and the radio, and next time you see the car we should be pretty much terminating everything and getting everything situated where it needs to be. And then the last thing that I'll do is get a little bit deeper into that steering column and get it all done. And once we get that done, we'll be ready to start testing some things out. So I'll bring you back when I have a little bit more show. Thank you guys. Okay guys, it's the next day. It's late at night. It's just a little bit before 10 o'clock, and we're finishing up on Project 5.5 here. Let me show you what we've been working on today. As you guys can see over there on the passenger side, we don't have that many wires hanging out anymore. We've still got the clock harness there. We've got it just kind of being held up by the visor. Still got a mess of wires over here, but that's all the new harness and other wires that I have pulled from the Excalibur alarm system. So today's main progress was basically finishing up the Excalibur alarm and getting the radio all wired in. I've got the radio all wired and I've tested it out. This is actually a Kenwood receiver. It's a KRC 1006 and it goes really good in the dash. So it's working. I went ahead and just tested it while it was in the car, and these are our power wires and ground, so still need to run that, but I wanted to test it before I buttoned everything up. This here is our Excalibur alarm system. I've got it all mounted to the housing of the vintage air system, and of course you guys remember I had relocated some relays there. Got quite a bit of wires there, and I've got them all taped up and bundled up, and I've got the guard on it right when it leaves past the AC ductwork. We'll just follow it through the dash. Right there is that bundle of wires. Like I said, it's in the plastic conduit that comes up behind the radio there. This conduit here actually has the speaker wires in it, and that's as far as I've gotten, which doesn't look like a lot, but it's quite a bit of work, especially to get it to look like this. I did go ahead and add a ground block there, and I've got it mounted to the housing of the vintage air system. There's not too many good places to find a good ground with all this stuff added in here, so I actually ran a ground from back here behind the firewall, right there at that location is where I have it grounded up underneath there, and that ties to a ground on some relays that were already mounted way up behind that vintage air system, and I've also got it running to that ground block right there. So this will give me a good ground for the gauges and also the tack and maybe a couple other things that I'm not sure about yet. So we'll just have to figure it out as we go. And then that brings us to our current location, which is right behind the instrument panel. And if we look in here, we can just see a big mess of wires. And I know that all looks bad right now, but that's actually where I'm working toward, is that new fuse block there. And still got to dress all that up, and there's going to be, I'm going to wrap that in two different harnesses. One to be from the alarm system, and then of course you can see I've got wires already coming in from the engine bay. That's my tack wires and wiper motor wires, and then of course the engine harness itself. So when I come back out, probably maybe tomorrow evening, I'll start working on all this and get it ready to go. I'm still waiting on my accessory fuse block that I've purchased. And what I'm going to do with it, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm going to put it also in that area down there, and I'm going to power the relays and everything off of it. So that's where I'm going to pick up at, and I'll get a little bit more done. I'll bring you back online and show you what we've got done. It's been several days since I actually turned the camera on. I just haven't had anything worth really showing. I've just been running wires is all I've been doing. And I've got the fuse box wired now. I do believe I am done soldering. But anyway, let me give you an update on everything that we've done. I can't remember where we left off at. So you can see all my wires coming over to the fuse panel. And then let's go underneath. And the best I can show you guys is the original style fuse panel right there. And then of course I've dropped right down below it and I've put in an accessory bus. And what I'm going to use this for is the relays. That I'll be powering up my relays. And I'm going to have 3 spares there. I've still got to make a fuse run, but I know what fuses I need now. So once I do that, I can go ahead and pop the fuses in. I have the heater controller all fixed up here. I've got the new rods on. I even put a new bezel on it. What a difference a new bezel makes. This was the old one. And you can just see the years of abuse on it. The pitting and the scratches and everything. And here's the new one. I've got new levers in it. Showed you guys that. And we're getting ready to put it in the car. Okay guys, I broke one of the main rules in restoration. I forgot to test fit that bezel to the opening of the dash. This is the old one and it looked exactly identical. And when I went to put it in, it would not fit. It was real tight, and it had some flat-headed Phillips screws that would seat in the countersink there. And I noticed on the new one, they were still raised up slightly, so I don't know if they didn't drill the holes. And so what I wind up doing, is just barely grinding the head of those screws down just a little bit. And now I do have it fitting in there, so that's all that was holding it. I had to do that on all 4 screws. And now that it's a real tight fit in that dash. Like I said, there's that side. And I've got enough of the screw there that it's holding, and if I ever had to, I could get it back out, I'm sure of it. But just a reminder, I guess I should have checked it before I put it in, but I went ahead and put it together. But I've got it in the car now. I'm going to go ahead and start wiring up the cables. Okay guys, I've got that heater controller back in the dash. I probably spent an hour and a half putting that thing in, and it fought me the whole way. But let's take a look. Like I said, it fought me the whole way. The new bezel does look 100 times better in the dash. And right there, I wind up having to use some different screws there that come with these levers. The ones they sent was just a straight blade, and they were really a lot shorter, and I just couldn't get them to tighten up on these cables. About the time I had it tightened up, I'd go to move it and the cable would start slipping. But you can hear it moving everything back there. Still don't move as free as I'd like them to. This one does really good. But this is the one, and I put a little oil down in there, and I've got it freed up as best that I can. That's actually the one that broke on me, is that one right there. But I've got it as good as we can get it, I do believe. I'm pretty satisfied with it. So guys, that's going to do it on this episode of the 5.5. Next video will probably be tearing into that steering column and getting it all situated. And then, like I said, we've still got to plug in that final wiring harness and then start testing everything. So when I have a little bit more progress, I'll be back online with another video. And just like to take this time and say I appreciate all my subscribers and everybody following the channel and commenting. And we'll talk to you later.